Hello there YouTube, MoonWitchK back again, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made the little Shoop the Whoop mod. Wasn't so complicated. Like I said in the last video, it was mostly copy and pasting. It was actually, it's pretty easy. What I did was I found where the lightning zap was in the ascar.as, which was when the F key was being pressed. And then I made the algorithm, which is this one right here, to find the closest person to me. And then I made sure that it wasn't me that I was finding, because then like the blue zap would appear on my bot. Nothing would happen, but it would just look weird. So I just made sure that it wasn't me. And then what I did before was it said play sound, and then one of the sounds was like some sort of like a rock sound. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was like the sound of a rock falling. And it kind of went well, so I just changed it from that to the revolver.wav. I also made it before it was the laser.wav, but I changed that. And then there was this thing called, to get the basic, wait, let me kind of start from the beginning. The yellow effect that you see is actually, it's like a metal spark. It's like sparks. It's like a bunch of sparks. It's a particle. So I'm actually just gonna search here, make sparks, and wait. Oh, sorry. Whoops. It's make metal. There we go. Okay. So right here. So here's a make metal sparks method. It receives a vector as a parameter, and it'll load the metal spark.xml to the vector that you sent, and it'll make it so that it goes in random directions. So what I did, I basically copied this and I made a new method called make shoop. Also receives a vector, does the same thing, except it doesn't load the metal spark.xml, it loads the shoop.xml. And the shoop.xml, all I did was I went right here, Mac OS. I mean, it's not going to be like this on Windows, but basically go into the data folder of Overgrowth, and then go into particles right there, and you'll see that metalspark.xml is right there. And so I had to look at it, and all it does basically is it gets the texture itself, which is the spark.tga from the textures folder, applies a shader, I guess, and then gives you the size, the minimum and the maximum sizes, so it'll give you anywhere between that range. The inertia, gravity, wind, decay rate, all that stuff. But here's the important part, the RGB. So what I did is I copied the metal spark and I called it Shoop, and it uses the same texture, it uses the spark texture, because I literally just copied it. I made the max a bit bigger, so I'd be getting a bigger particle, like a bigger sort of radius. And then I sort of amped up the blue. I looked online. I found this site which shows you the RGB values of a bunch of colors, and I looked through until I found a shade of blue that I liked, which was close to the actual Shoop the Whoop. And that's what I did into here. So red 0, green 191, and blue 255. Make sure that you put a .0 at the end of all of these values, or a dot. So it has to be a decimal number, because I think it's a float and it won't work unless you have a decimal. If you just put 0 without the point 0 after it, it won't work. So that's something to keep in mind. Also played around with the inertia, the gravity, and I don't know, a couple other things here. I can't really remember. So yeah, that's basically all I did, and that's a shoop.xml. So if we go back into the script, you'll see that in the make shoop, it does exactly the same thing, except it loads the shoop.xml, and that basically means that it's going to be the same as the metal spark, except it's going to be a different color and it's going to be a bit bigger. Yeah, but you could play around with these values to make it, however you want. So I'm just going to go back to the actual method when you hit F. So it makes a shoop at the starting point, which is you. It makes a shoop at the end point, which is the closest person to you, which I calculated with the algorithm, as I showed you before. And then this here is to get the blood, but I'm actually just gonna delete a bunch of this stuff because I had to actually restart my computer. That's how much blood was flying around. Right, so I'm just gonna change this down to 5 now. I'm just kind of playing around with this here, and I'm not using an IDE. I'm using TextEdit. You could use Notepad. I don't know what IDE I'd use for this, but it doesn't matter. I just basically use trial and error. Every time I changed something in the code, I would sort of let the update work on the game, and if it would give me an error, I'd look through the error, find the line that was causing the error, and I'd have a look again. And yeah, it helps to have some programming experience. So yeah, so now this is to get the shoop at the starting point and the end point. Now you actually want to get the shoop along the vector between the two of you, and that's what this here does. It calculates the number of sparks needed, which is the length times 5. I guess that every sort of jump there's going to be 5 sparks, or 5 shoops in our case, and so it just does a normal for loop up to the amount of sparks that we calculated here, and then at every point right here, this is I guess this gives you a vector. It'll calculate between the starting point and the end point and where we are currently, like which step we're holding at. So if it's going to be like the first step, then it's going to be then the j is going to be 1, and so it'll be like a distance from us, from the player. It's going to be like 1 away from the player, and then when it's the second step, it's going to be 2 away from the player, and 3 away from the player, 4 away from the player, until it reaches the end point. And then this defines at which force the guy gets hit. So I can up that. I think it was 5,000 before. I put that up to 10,000. And then this is at the actual. This is what happens when the guy gets hit by the vector. I didn't touch this at all. But you could have a look through that and change this as you like. From the last video, I actually worked on the blood quite a lot, and I got a pretty good effect going. What happens is that when he gets hit, like a huge splat of blood just goes all over the place. It's quite nice, actually. I like gore. Not real gore, video game gore, of course. I'm normal, and I used the was blood method from the blood mod. Void was blood. It receives a vector, which is the direction in which you want the blood to go flying. It receives the position, like the actual point from where you want the blood to start flying out of. So in our case, we want the blood to start exploding out of the enemy. So let's say the enemy's over here, we'll send this vector here. I guess, no, I mean like whatever. And then the direction, I changed it so that instead of the blood spattering away from me, I made the blood spatter towards me. So it looks like it gives the effect that he's flying back. He is flying back, and I wanted the blood to sort of go like forward, as if it's like coming out of him. So I just sent. I basically just sent the. I calculated. Can't remember exactly where the code was, but I'll just go back to our method. Right here. So it was range random float between -2f and 2f. F stands for float, so that's why it needs the points here at the end, so the computer knows you're talking about a float. And so this will give you a random float, which is going away from you. So let's say I'm standing here, right here, and the enemy's standing over here. So the blood will go this way. But I want it to go like the other way. I want it to come towards me, so I just times that by a -1. And that made the blood come towards me. And then another thing that I did was I sort of made it that whenever unconscious bodies collide with another surface, let's say a wall or the floor, they like the blood spurt comes out. Let me just find out where I did that. And this also, yeah, right here. This pretty much also is pretty intensive. This could completely destroy your computer. Just imagine every time an unconscious or dead body hits a wall, it just explodes into like a huge, explosion of blood. So I found the collided method, and then I just added this line right here, was blood, which is that blood mod method. The vector, which is the direction, I didn't put a -1 this time. I just kept it the way it is. and then I sent the position of the entity that's hitting the surface. So yeah, that works out fine. I'm not going to run the game to show you the changes that I made because I can't be bothered, honestly. It's too much work and I actually don't have time. I gotta go. So thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comment section, or you can message me, whatever you like. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.